Before the video begins, all the show notes and video scripts word to word are in the description or in the pinned comments. Let's be real, memorizing vocabulary through endless repetition, using flashcards, staring at a word list, or using apps is painful, boring, and not to mention not that effective. But what if I told you there are smarter, faster, and more fun ways to grow your vocabulary all without rote memorization? In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 rapid-fire strategies to do just that. And it's all backed by language learning psychology, real-life application, and my own journey both as an English teacher and a language learner with 20,000 words under my belt. And I'm extra excited to announce that my new course, 英语口语集训营第二期, is officially live and open for enrollment. If you want a structured, scientifically sound way to build your vocab naturally through real-life, real-world input, I'm going to show you how my course helps you do just that. But more of that in a bit. Let's jump into the strategies first. Number 1, sound it out. Instead of memorizing a word letter by letter, sound it out and break it into chunks, break it into syllables. In real-life application, unless you're entering a spelling bee contest or you're literally writing on a piece of paper, knowing how to spell the word exactly letter by letter is not as important or useful as opposed to knowing how to sound it out or knowing the basic idea of a word. This tip is especially crucial for those who've only memorized words by their visual signal, by how it's spelled, but not by how it sounds. So when you try to speak, of course, you can't think of what to say because you don't actually know how to say it. So I personally find it more useful to know how to sound out a word rather than how to spell it exactly. But be careful, not all English words follow phonics. Words like epitome or kernel or mischievous, you really have to look up each individual word to make sure it's pronounced how you think it's pronounced. Number 2, deeply understand a word. Don't stop at just the translation. This is why I don't like word lists, because it doesn't give you the complete or sometimes accurate meaning of a word. Even if you understand the Chinese translation, it doesn't mean you naturally know how to use it in a sentence. And when you don't know how to use something, you end up not using it and you end up forgetting it. It's almost guaranteed that you'll forget it. So instead, when you run into a word, say in a reading material, in a listening material, and you think this word is kind of intriguing and probably useful, I want you to look it up in a dictionary or ask ChatGPT, or if you're reading a textbook or following a course like mine, it would tell you the extended meaning. It will tell you all the information there is to this word that pertains to you. So naturally, when you pick up a word, you're thinking of a whole sentence, you're thinking of a whole context, and that's how a word sticks in your brain. Number 3, process the word. By process, I mean write it down, say it out loud, think about it, look it up in a dictionary. Any way you process a word, as long as you're engaging one of the senses, as long as you're using your brain, as long as you're using your mouth, it will stick in your brain better and faster. 4, create your own sentence. If you truly want to own the word, meaning you know how to use it, you can recognize it when other people use it, then you want to make up your own sentence. For instance, I would say, oh, I was so discombobulated when Taylor Swift said my name, Ella. Jimmy or Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul was like, my brother orchestrated it. My brother orchestrated the scam. So now, not only do I have a firmer grasp of a word, orchestrate and discombobulate, when I go to use it in speaking or writing, I don't feel as unfamiliar with the words. You can create your own sentence bank, create your own 造句库, a list of sentences or a notebook of sentences that you feel like you could use down the line in speaking or writing. It could be directly copied from whatever reading materials that you're doing, or from a dictionary, or it could be a mixture of your own language and someone else's language. Even better, keep a language learning diary where you use all the words you just picked up today to express what you've done today, to express what you're feeling today. So what you're writing, what you're using, all of these vocab will apply directly to your personal life, tying everything together, making everything stick. Strategy number 5, build your own input library and a consistent input system. I'm actually going to dedicate a whole nother video on this subject, the importance of having a 语料库 or input library. So stay tuned for that. If you want to learn words naturally, you need to stop learning them in isolation and start learning them in context. And that's where having an input system, having an input library comes in. A 语料库 or input library is a curated collection of real-life English materials, videos, conversations, readings, and podcasts that you study from regularly. It's the system behind your daily input. It gives you a chance to not only see this new word in its natural context, in its natural habitat, but also gives you a chance to run into the same words over and over again, giving your memory a refresh. You cannot remember anything without repeated exposure, without repeated, meaningful, and curated exposure. And the goal of having this input library is simple. Let the most high-frequency, common, versatile words show up again and again, show up in their natural context. So not only do you memorize the word, but also know how to use the word. And again, I'll walk you through how to build your input library and how to process it in the next video to come. But in the meantime, if you want to skip all the guesswork, if you don't want to spend hours curating your own playlist, if you don't want to learn how to process it properly so it sticks in your brain, then just sign up for my course where I already follow all the principles. I already built an input system for most beginners to intermediate learners. So you can just follow along, plug and play, do what you gotta do and save time. Strategy number 6, narrow your vocabulary scope and prioritize the most frequent 3,000 words. If you're a regular watcher of my videos, you probably already heard me say this a couple hundred times already, but I'm gonna say it again, okay? Not every word is created equal. Just because a word is advanced and fancy doesn't mean it's useful, doesn't mean it's useful to you right now. In English, there are about 3,000 words that are very versatile, very common, very frequent. If you can master these common words, that accounts for 86 to 90% of your language needs, be it speaking, writing, listening, and reading. So it's not just learning as many words as possible, it's also learning the right words. Words that are highly versatile, highly common, highly useful, that you can realistically use today or tomorrow. And how you can verify if it's within the 3,000 range is actually pretty simple. If you have a dictionary like the Longman one, it will usually mark out, okay, this is the most common 3,000 words. This is the most common 1,000 words in speaking or writing. Let's say you're studying a word beyond the 3,000 range and you don't know how frequent this word is. You can even ask ChatGPT. This is something I've recently started doing. You can ask ChatGPT, hey, how common is this word? What range roughly is it in? And let's say if it's between the most common 10 to 12,000 words, and you feel comfortable doing that, then yes, pick up that word and learn it. But for me, if something is beyond, let's say, 20,000 range, then I don't bother with it because native speakers don't even use that. Pick a range that applies to you, that pertains to you. Obviously, if you're a beginner, start with the most frequent 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 range. Strategy number 7, use word association technique. Branching out or expanding on the word, words that have similar spelling, words that have the same roots, the same etymology, the same prefixes, suffixes, words that occur in the same context, in the same scenario, words that similar meanings. Okay, I missed that one. So synonyms. If I'm just going off of input library, going off of a context, I'm usually picking words up by chronological order, right? The first time I see a word, I don't know that word, I look it up, I note it down in my notebook. But if I'm using word association technique, I might think, pediatrician. I can think, okay, what are some similar words in terms of its roots? So ped, P-E-D, means child. So then you have pedophile. Or if I'm thinking the same scenario, the same context, okay, what are some other specialists? We have podiatrists, also have pulmonologists, which also includes a different root so that you can branch it out from there. The words you study can be from a context, it could be from your past notes, but whatever you do, you have to branch it out. You have to expand on it, find similar words, find random words that come into your mind that kind of have some relation to this word, and that's how you build a network of related words. That's how you make multiple words stick in your brain as opposed to one. Sometimes it's faster to remember multiple words than just one. Strategy number 8. Start with passive vocabulary, then gradually activate it. Basically, your own vocabulary can be grouped into 2 major categories, passive and active. The reason I want to mention this principle is because a lot of times people memorize word lists, and the way they judge whether or not I've memorized or mastered this word is by going, okay, I don't know how to say this, or I don't know how to use it in writing. Therefore, I have not studied this word. Therefore, I have not known this word, so it's not my vocabulary yet. When a lot of times being able to recognize a word in its context, in reading, in listening, is an indication that it's on its way to becoming your own active vocabulary. It just means that you probably need to run into it a few more times, or you need to actively use it in writing yourself, preparing it for later conversations. So don't neglect the power of passive vocabulary, because when you don't even recognize a word in reading, or don't even have the chance to see it in a writing material, in a listening material, how can you expect yourself to feel comfortable using that word itself? Every word that you know needs to go through passive to active. Most people have way more passive vocabulary than active vocabulary, and that's beautiful. That's normal. It's kind of like storage room items in the shelves, ready to be dispensed, ready to be used. You just haven't visited the storage room as often, or you haven't really taken a look at whatever you have in the storage room, right? That's why you do word association. That's why you review your notes. That's why you keep running into similar contexts so that you review them, so that you have repeated exposure. And that's how they gradually become active vocabulary. Strategy number 9, study etymology. Etymology is basically roots, prefixes, suffixes. They're kind of like 偏旁部首 in Chinese. Once you recognize the most common roots, you can usually detect or guess the meaning of a word, even if you've never seen it before. At the same time, knowing etymology will help you memorize a word or understand a word way faster. But be careful, some of the more common and simple words usually don't have any etymology, usually don't have any roots, because they're just too short. Words like go, get, take, hang, they're too short. They're one-syllable words. So even if they have a root, it's usually unpredictable. This principle, I guess, only applies to some of the more advanced vocab, so take it with a grain of salt. Strategy number 10, use a photo dictionary, particularly for real-life words. All the words there are basically can be broken into 2 major categories: abstract words, and then there's real life words, words that have a visual aspect to it, words that you don't necessarily need to translate into Chinese or whatever your native language is. If I need to study words that I would encounter in a hospital, it's way faster to use a real life photo dictionary to see all the images, all the people, occupations, specialties, all the equipment, all the processes in a photo dictionary than using a traditional conversation-based textbook. Usually these real-life words belong in the passive vocabulary, so you don't need to fixate on how to spell them, how to memorize every single word. A lot of times you just make sure, okay, when other people use this term, I recognize it, I understand it, and that's sufficient. And bonus tip number 11, just sign up for my course. If you don't want to spend hours curating your own playlist, curating your own input library, you don't want to think about how to memorize a word, what words to study, how to find the right materials for this particular range, the most frequent 3000 range, then I got you covered, okay? This course is built around real high-frequency language input, from authentic conversations to simple reading passages to ultra-versatile words, or 万金油单词, all carefully selected from the most frequent, the most common 3000 words used in everyday life. So if you're tired of learning fancy words that you never get to use, and you want to sound natural, fluent, and smart when you speak English, this is for you. And right now we're running a special where if you buy the second course, you automatically get the first course for free. So check the link below for more details. Lock in that special right now because we're building you up from the ground up. All right, that's all I got. Let me know what tip specifically resonated with you or what tip you personally like. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, I will see you in the next one.